Welcome to Next Level Play Therapy, a weekly podcast dedicated to supporting the next generation of child and adolescent therapists to provide exceptional play therapy services. We'll explore all things play therapy to elevate your work with children and adolescents using the therapeutic powers of play. I'll discuss practical tips and ideas so you can provide a transformative experience for your young clients and make a real difference in their lives. So get ready to take your play therapy skills to the next level and make a lasting impact in the lives of children, adolescents, and families. Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of Next Level Play Therapy, where we talk about all things play therapy. And today we are going to talk about 3 hidden things that play therapists often do that sabotage the effectiveness of family play therapy sessions. So one of the things that I've heard a lot, especially in Play Therapy Academy, and now we're kind of starting to talk about this in Elevation Circle, Play Therapy Elevation Circle, which is my new kind of community-focused play therapy community. Play Therapy Academy is more of my online consultation program that gives play therapists a solid foundation using play therapy. This comes up a lot, and that is I go out to the waiting room and my cute little client with their cute little face and the sweetest little voice says to me, "Hey, can my mom or can my dad come in? Or can my sister or my brother wants to come in?" And what do you say? You typically say, "Sure," and you let them in. And then it does not go very well because you feel awkward. Parents typically are not sure what they're supposed to do. They end up usually kind of watching on the sidelines, observing what's going on. And then you're feeling a little pressured internally to demonstrate that play therapy works and hope parents don't think you're doing it wrong or doing something weird, meaning like it doesn't make any sense to them and it looks odd. And then they're wondering like all the things that go through your head thinking, what did I do? Why did I do this? And then maybe you invite them in and somebody has a tantrum and it doesn't go very well. Parents say something that maybe is a little awkward or not helpful because they're not sure what to do and they're just doing what they do. It can feel messy. It can feel like chaos. A lot of times when I talk with play therapists and I talk about using family play therapy in the sessions, a lot of times I'll see play therapists make this like panicked look on their face, or they'll kind of have that hesitant tone in their voice saying, all of them, like even the little ones, is what they'll ask me. And I can tell by the voice they're thinking, you want me to put all those people in one room together with all those different developmental stages? And what if somebody has a tantrum, or what if somebody doesn't involve? It'll feel like chaos. And it can, that's the thing. That's the fear. It can feel like chaos. So is that necessarily a bad thing when families show up with their family patterns in the playroom? It can be if you're not doing some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, or maybe you are doing some of the things that I'm going to talk about today that are the things that tend to sabotage success with it. But maybe you also know parents are an important part of their child's play therapy treatment, and you're not sure how to involve them, or you're having a hard time getting them to be involved. Having a structure, setting expectations, using a specific play therapy model can help you overcome some of those challenges and really get some deeper healing, because you have at least parents or family members as active participants in the play therapy process. And there are three things that I typically see as I'm consulting with play therapists. There are three things that I typically see tend to sabotage the effectiveness and make you think, well, it's not any good, or maybe I'm a terrible play therapist and I don't know what I'm doing. And parents just realize that I'm a terrible play therapist, which they probably did not. So let's talk about that. Let's stop white-knuckling it through those family play therapy sessions, and let's start making them a lot more effective. But first, to do that, I want to talk about some things that will set you up for failure if you're not identifying these and making some changes with these. And I'll talk a little bit about why they will sabotage the effectiveness. So that is what we are going to talk about today. Today's topic is 3 common mistakes using family play therapy and what to do instead. So if you are watching me live on YouTube or LinkedIn, or maybe over here on Instagram, I kind of simultaneously, if you see me shifting my head back and forth, that's because I am streaming live on using StreamYard for LinkedIn and YouTube. And then I'm looking over here to Instagram to live stream onto Instagram, because it's way too hard to do it on YouTube. I mean, StreamYard. I tried it. I should probably try it again, but it feels too awkward. And for those of you watching the replay in my Facebook group, or maybe on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram, welcome. So if you're watching live or you're watching the replay, I would love to know who's here. Post your name in the comments. What population are you working with? Where are you working? What types of clients do you typically work with, ages and things like that? Do you use family play therapy? Do you integrate parents into the play therapy process? What does that look like? What models are you using? Today, I'm going to talk about some mistakes I see people make. If you're interested in at the end, I am going to talk about my attachment-focused family play therapy training that I have coming up next month on November 8th, which is a Saturday. If you're interested in learning an attachment and neuroscience framework or model for family play therapy, then stay tuned. At the end, I'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's go ahead and get started. The first mistake that I see play therapists making happens all the time. And to be honest, I did this in the beginning until I figured it out. So my hope is by talking about this, you'll figure it out sooner than I did, and you won't have to struggle along the way as I did to try to figure it out and come up with a better way. The first mistake that I often see play therapists making is treating the play therapy sessions where you're inviting parents or maybe parents and siblings into the session as really treating the play therapy session as an individual therapy plus, meaning you invite parents to participate, but they're off to the side and they're just kind of observing. Maybe you have them integrated in, But typically what happens is it's kind of you're using an individual therapy mindset. And when you're using a family play therapy model, it's a fundamental shift in your foundational thinking about the play therapy session. It is not individual play therapy session. And then you've added parents in there. It's now family. You are now shifting to think systemically. And when you shift to thinking systemically, then it changes your role, it changes the parent's role, it changes siblings' role, it changes parents' role with your client or their child and the rest of the family. It changes the fundamental roles and responsibilities and how you facilitate healing. Most universities, and I would say most play therapy trainings, focus on individual therapy. And there's nothing wrong with that. I use play therapy. I do individual play therapy. So it's not, there's nothing wrong with doing individual play therapy sessions. What I want to highlight today is if you're using family play therapy, if you're inviting other family members or parents into the play therapy session, then it's a shift. You're not doing individual play therapy. You are now using a systemic model, and you need to think systemically. Because what happens, the miss, is that parents are still on the sidelines. They might be in the sessions, but if they're on the sidelines and they're not actively participating, then they're not really engaged. They're just observers. And is that really going to move the needle to the extent that it's going to move the needle? So the shift is, who is the therapeutic agent of change now? You can make the argument it's both of you. It's both you and the parent. And what I mean by that is it's you because you're supporting the system and you're supporting parents. You're the therapeutic agent of change from a parenting standpoint with parents. And then parents become the therapeutic agent of change for their child. If you have siblings in there, then parents become the therapeutic agent of change for the children, for your client who is their child. And so when you think about who is the therapeutic agent of change, it shifts roles and responsibilities. And what does that look like in the session? So the second mistake that I often see play therapists making when they're using family play therapy, when they're including parents, maybe parents and siblings into the play therapy session, is not really preparing for chaos. It's possible it's going to happen, but is that a bad thing? If you're afraid of doing family play therapy because you're afraid that it's going to go terribly, then I've got good news and bad news. The good news is it's not a bad thing. And the bad news is it's probably going to happen at some point in time with at least one of your clients in their system. I mean, you can't avoid that. And here's a shift that I want to encourage you to have with this. Because a lot of times when I suggest to the people that I consult with, hey, you know what I think would be helpful to address that issue that keeps coming up over and over, and you don't feel like you're making any progress with it, you may want to try adding parents into the session, or you may want to try having the whole family system in there. If it's a family that's divorced, I typically don't have both divorced parents in the session with the kids. I usually do it household by household. So like either one parent's, like mom's household or dad's household, or, the different households, and then work on building that attachment and repairing that attachment relationship within each household, and how parents come together to be more effective co-parenting, because that creates a stronger foundation, a stronger, secure environment, attachment environment for the child. But here's the thing, in the family play therapy sessions, there might be some chaos. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because it allows you to see the patterns in real time. You get to see for yourself. It's been my experience that most of the time, parents feel a little validated when it happens in the session with you present in the session, so that you can see what they're having to deal with. So for them, it feels like they get a little validation that it's not just them, and now it's happening to you. Because when you're doing individual play therapy sessions, sometimes what happens is the kids are fine. A lot of times, to be honest, the kids are fine with you, which of course that makes sense, because it's all about them. And a lot of times they get to do what they want. If you're using directive strategies, you're still gearing it towards the child's interests. So a lot of times what'll happen is the child does great with you, and then parents are struggling at home. So for parents, it can feel a little bit like, well, why are they fine with you and not with me? And then they might also be thinking, well, of course, you're just playing with them all the time. Of course, they're going to like you. I'm the one over here dealing with all the hard things. That comes up, and I'll be honest, it's a little bit of a valid point, in my opinion. So that's why I'm a firm believer in using attachment-focused family play therapy. So in the sessions, it might be chaos, but the good thing is you can see the patterns, you can see those interaction patterns for yourself, rather than relying on secondhand information. And last week's episode, I talked a lot more about that. So if this is a topic that is something that you're interested in, or want to find more out about, then I would suggest listening to the previous episodes or watching the previous episodes on YouTube. That's the easiest place to find those, on YouTube. It's a little harder to find them on LinkedIn. On Instagram, you can just go on my grid and find all of the replays. Or if you on the podcast, you can always listen to the podcast, Next Level Play Therapy podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. But if you want more information about that, then I would highly recommend watching some of the previous episodes. Here's the miss if you are not preparing parents, if you're not talking with them about roles and responsibilities and what to expect and who's going to do what. Here's what we want to try if this happens. Here's the miss if you don't do that preparation work with parents when you're using a family play therapy model. Those messy moments actually become opportunities for parents and children to learn new skills and to learn new ways of doing things. You want parents to be active participants with the children, if it's the client and their siblings in there with parents, or at the very least, you want the child and the parents to be actively participating with each other. You're kind of shifting your role in there, more of a support and providing a little bit of structure for parents and the child, or parents and the children, to have opportunities to try new things out. Then they can take what they've learned in the session into their everyday lives at home, which is where the magic happens, making those changes in their everyday life, not just having it happen in the play therapy session. You want to help children and parents take that into their day-to-day life. And so when you prepare and help parents know what to do, understand roles, what's your role, what's their role, what are you going to do, how are you going to handle things, what activities are you going to do, why are you going to do them, what's the focus that we're working on, then that's when people start feeling lost and not sure. And that's when you start feeling like things failed. And to me, it doesn't fail. It just gives you more information that you can think about and figure out in between sessions, and then come back and regroup with parents and figure out what happened and how to move forward. Because these things are happening at home. It's not like they're only happening in your playroom. They're happening at home, and this is what they're having to deal with at home. So why not see for yourself firsthand what is going on and use that as an opportunity for teaching new skills and getting deeper healing. And then the third mistake that I see play therapists making when they're using family play therapy and it doesn't go so well, the third mistake is just winging it without using a framework or a play therapy model. So your play therapy model influences how you conceptualize your role, parent's role, child's role, what you're doing, what's the focus of change, how are you going to go about doing that? How do you make sense of what is going on in the playroom? So using a family play therapy model is important because it's gonna define or influence whose role is what and who's doing what and what is that going to look like in the play therapy sessions. It's also a fundamental shift in thinking about your role as the responsible person to create the shift. When you're bringing in parents and using a family play therapy model, then it's shared. You are sharing responsibility with parents. And so now your role shifts to supporting parents and helping parents and the children learn new ways of being and repairing relationships and learning new skills that they can take with them outside of the session. And so your play therapy model is going to clarify all of those things. You would have had a conversation with parents prior to bringing them in to the session, where you would have had a conversation about, hey, I think I'm recommending that we use family play therapy. Here's the family play therapy model that I use. Here's what that means. Here's the focus. Here's what my role is. Here's what your role is. Here's how we're going to figure out what we're working on and what we're doing in the sessions. Here's what's, and then you're going to use your play therapy model throughout the change process. I like using, so my foundational thinking way back in grad school, if I go back to 1990, like 35 years ago, I discovered this thing, this model. You know how in graduate school you have to take a class where you go through all the theory models? So in social work, we had to do that. We had that class in our first year. If you're in in a counseling program, you probably had those classes as well. If you're a marriage and family therapist, then you're getting all the systems models, right? You're getting the couples models, you're getting the family models. You're already getting that. For us in social work and counseling, we took a class and most of it was individual counseling models. But they had this one model, and I remember reading through, because in the class we were assigned groups, but we had to read through and figure out what model we wanted to learn more about with our group. And then we joined a group based on the model that we chose. Most of them, all of them actually, were individual mental health psychotherapy models. But there was one family systems model they were teaching. And I remember reading that thinking, holy macaroni, that's a whole thing. Looking at family systems, because I remember thinking, right, this is like a million years ago. I remember thinking, yeah, I knew I wasn't the only one in my family that was a mess. I knew we were like, I knew I was right. I knew I was on to something about my dysfunctional family system growing up, right? That's what we all do. We all analyze ourselves in graduate school. But I felt so validated. So anyways, long story short, oh my gosh, I became a new believer with family systems. So in my concentration year, it was all, this is not typical. My graduate program for social work was not at all typical, and I'm very grateful for it. I had a concentration, it was called Child and Family Welfare. All of the clinical work was family systems. So we learned all the 5 major family systems in my field practicum or placement or field experience, whatever we're calling it these days, was all family systems. I was placed in a court program in their counseling program. It was really kind of groundbreaking at the time. I later, like maybe 25 years later, went back and I was a consultant for them. That was such a cool experience for me. So shout out to the family counselors in the Fairfax County juvenile domestic court system. You guys are awesome. I loved working with them. I loved working, kind of going back, seeing full circle. But that was the place where we thought systemically. We did family systems. So that's my grounding. I would say that's my foundational thinking. And so when I, graduated and got a job, the place where I worked, we looked at things systemically. So it was so awesome. I'm a firm believer, though, if you're working with kids, you really need to think systemically. We really need to understand the child within the context of their family system. But I would say school system, all of the systems, we need to think systemically. So long story short, we're still thinking about a framework. When I started learning, finally was able to find some some play therapy models. It was only individual, which I used, but it was frustrating for me trying to figure out how to incorporate parents. What is that going to look like? How am I going to do this? I had done a training with Eliana Gill on family play or play and family therapy. I read her books and I loved them. So it started moving in the direction that I was interested in. At the time, though, I was also learning about attachment. I was learning about neuroscience. And I was learning the different attachment models that were out there. But for me, there was limitations for that as well, because what if I wanted more than just the one parent in there? Like I took the filial trainings. I even used filial, which I think is an awesome model. I love filial therapy. And for me, there was still a gap because I think systemically, I think sibling relationships are important. I think it's important to figure out those dynamics with siblings. I learned that in my own family. We had horrible relationships in my family. Not horrible, but we were all in survival mode. That's kind of how I look at it now. But we don't have great relationships. And that's sad for me. And I see people who do have, as adults, these great relationships with their siblings. And I think to myself, we need to start building that sibling relationships for our clients, strengthening those. I feel like sibling relationships don't get as much attention in play therapy as I think they need to. And so that's somewhere along the line, I thought, well, all of these models are way too confining for me, and they don't do it for me. So I kind of created my own model that's more integrative in nature, using attachment and using neuroscience, and hence called it attachment focused family play therapy, and kind of thought about roles and responsibilities of who's doing what in the sessions. And what I find is, and I have regular parent only meetings. What I find is those parent only meetings are key in the framework for helping parents be prepped for the chaos, to know what to do. So what I found is having that framework helped to address the other two common mistakes, which is we're not treating it like individual plus, where now I have a framework, we're integrating parents, we know what their role is, we know what my role is, we know what's going to happen with the siblings, we know what is the focus, and then we're going to avoid those issues of not knowing what to do and having it feel like chaos when somebody has a tantrum or somebody doesn't want to do something. We've prepped for that. Parents are feeling supported. They know what to do because we have a framework in place. And so if you're Adlerian play therapist, then Adlerian play therapy integrates Adlerian family play therapy. There's a role for how you're conceptualizing parents and how you're using the model with parents. Gestalt play therapy, same thing. Theraplay is a whole framework. That one just uses the parent and the child, or you and the child. But if you're bringing the parent in, then you're showing parents what to do. Filial play therapy, you're teaching parents how to do basically child-centered play therapy. All of these have a model. All of these have a framework. So what I would say is find a model or a framework that you align with, one that fits for you. Don't just wing it. When you use a framework, it guides you to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it in each stage of the change process. It's a fundamental shift in your thinking about roles and responsibilities from you as the sole person to you and parents partnering together and working through the healing process using that framework, whatever that framework is that you're using. So those are the 3 mistakes. Let me do a quick recap. Today we are talking about 3 common mistakes using family play therapy and what to do about it. The first mistake is, okay, I have to do a full disclosure here. So my dog Luna, hi Luna. Luna, my dog Luna is over in her digging spot in my office. Oh, Luna. She's digging a hole in my carpet. Not really, but I wonder about that. Anyways, if you hear this weird digging noise in the background and you're like, what is going on in her podcast or her live stream? That's my dog Luna. And if I could move my cameras around without making you feel like you have motion sickness, I would show you my dog Luna. Anyway, Luna's in the office. So the three mistakes are basically treating family play therapy like individual family play therapy, and then you just kind of wing it with the parents in there. A lot of times I hear that they're just observers. Sometimes people try to integrate them, but it doesn't go very well. And then you're feeling responsible to fix everything. You think just because you have parents in there, it still means it's only you. And and it's not, it's family therapy. So now you're shifting your mindset of roles and responsibilities. The other mistake is not really prepping for chaos or what to do when there's misbehavior. And the miss here is that because you still think you're the sole responsibility person for all of the change, and parents aren't sure what to do and they don't know their role or their purpose in there, it can feel like chaos because you haven't prepped them. You haven't talked about, here's my responsibility, here's your responsibility, here's what we're going to be doing in the session, here's why we're going to be doing it in the session. If misbehavior happens, like, I'm here to support you. And ask them, what support do you need from me? What feels helpful? What doesn't feel helpful? Because you want to engage them as your change partner. And you need to prep for that. And to prep for that really involves mistake number 3, which is you can't prep for it if you don't know what framework you're using, because your framework is going to be really identifying roles and responsibilities. What are you doing? What is the client doing? What is parent doing? What are you going to be doing in there? Why are you going to be doing it? Your family play therapy model spells out what that's going to look like and how that's going to work, and how are you working and partnering with parents, and how are you helping them to make those changes in the family play therapy sessions. Luna's over there digging again. Luna, come here. It's a digging day for Luna. And how are you going to handle those outbursts if they happen? Your framework is key because it guides how you make sense of what's going on in the sessions and how you make sense of the interaction patterns and then what to do about them. So if you're using Adlerian family play therapy, how you're using an Adlerian family play therapy theoretical lens, which then identifies and influences how you make sense of what's going on and how are you helping parents to make the change. The same would be if you're using TheraPlay or any of or filial or my attachment focused family play therapy model. The model is going to help you understand. So in my attachment focused family play therapy model, we're looking at attachments. We're looking at that interpersonal neurobiology and helping parents and children develop those secure attachments. And we're looking at how those theoretical models influence the way in which you do that. So that is it for today. If you're interested, I do have my attachment focused family play therapy training coming up in November. It's going to be on November 8th. You can come and join us in person in St. George, Utah. It's beautiful that time of year. It's so nice. The weather's cooling off. St. George, you can see all the red rocks. It's so pretty. Or you can join us virtually. There is a virtual option as well. So we're gonna do the case conceptualization of looking at things from a neuroscience and attachment lens, really understanding implicit experiences and mentalization and how that influences emotion regulation and identity formation. And then I'm going to take you through the model. We're looking at the principles, foundational principles of attachment-focused family play therapy, then the different stages. What do you do in the beginning stage? What is your role? What is parents' role? How do you choose activities in this role? What is that going to look in this stage? What is that going to look like? We're going to look at each stage and what to do in each stage and how to use that model. We'll also go over some activities, and I'll show you some activities that you can use and also how to choose those. So if you're interested, registration is closing soon. It's going to close on November 6th. The training is on November 8th. So you'll want to register soon for that training. You can pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. That's rhplaytherapytraining.com. Go over to the training page on Renewing Hearts Play Therapy Training. You can register on there. You'll also see some of the other trainings that I have coming up, like using a neuroscience and attachment lens with Santre in play therapy. That's a different training using Santre therapy. We're going to look at using Santre therapy in play therapy with the neuroscience and attachment lens. This one's only in person. I'm a firm believer of people getting their hands in the sand, experiencing the powerful nature of Santre therapy, and using those miniatures. We will make Santres, we will process Santres, we will use that opportunity to identify themes in sessions, how to identify those themes in the Santre, what to do, like how are you going to hold that? It's a really small group. I keep the Santre trainings. I only do in person because I really want people to get their hands in the sand. So I keep them really small for that. I call it kind of a retreat-like experience. It's a 2-day in-person training in St. George, Utah. So if you're interested in that one, pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. You'll see that. Also, some of the other trainings I have coming up. I also, if you're interested, I have some openings in my Play Therapy Academy program. So if you're interested in getting some support, we do consultation meetings twice a month. There are courses in the program. There is a community for support in between our group meetings. Lots and lots of hands-on, lots of help figuring out how to use play therapy effectively, get grounded, have a solid foundation so that you can build from there using play therapy. So if you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. On the consultation page, look for Play Therapy Academy. You'll see more information there. Also, if you're interested, schedule a 30-minute video call with me, and then we can talk about whether or not it's a good fit for you. I like to make sure it is a good fit, and because it's limited and I don't have openings all the time. I have one opening in the Saturday group, and I have one opening in the Wednesday group. When those get filled, they get filled, and then there's not openings until somebody else leaves the program. So pop over to my website, check out the trainings, check out Play Therapy Academy, check out Play Therapy Elevation Circle. It's closed right now. I'm going to relaunch that. You can sign up for the wait list. Check out the free resources, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Next Level Play Therapy. I hope you found the discussion valuable and gained new insights and ideas to support your work helping children, adolescents, and families heal. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps to improve and reach more people who can benefit from this information. Remember, play therapy is a powerful tool for healing and growth. Whether you're a new play therapist or experienced, I encourage you to continue your learning journey to unlock the potential of play in your own work and relationships. If you have any questions or topic suggestions for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media and visit my website at Renewing Hearts Play Therapy Training to stay updated on upcoming episodes, trainings, and resources. Thank you once again for listening to Next Level Play Therapy. Until next time, keep playing, learning, and growing.